Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming back. On last week's episode, we spoke about how we finally got to meet our rainbow baby. Today's episode is about labor, surrender, fear, gratitude, and finally meeting our daughter. My whole pregnancy, I wanted a holistic pregnancy. I didn't want epidural. I wanted my oil diffuser. I wanted to be the most calming and serene experience of my life. I wanted it to be calm and serene and warm. I wanted a holistic birth. I didn't think I wanted the epidural. I wanted to feel everything. I brought my oil diffuser. I wanted to have calming intentions, peaceful. I truly thought it was going to be a calm and grounding experience. I went full glam because I was a mermaid that was giving birth. And then I had to switch up my glam dress for the hospital gown. Now, thinking in retrospect, I wish I would have thought about it more. When the induction began, they burst my water, and that was an eye opening experience because as soon as all that water rushed out, my belly shrunk, and I was like, whoa. After that, they put like a little pill to start the dilation. And because I wasn't as dilated as they wanted me to be, they went ahead and started the IV Pitocin drip. Boy, I should have done my research about that because the intensity of that started off as little cramps, and my wife could hear me breathing through it. And she's like, "Babe, you okay?" Because my wife was also pregnant at this time. I wanted her to get as much rest as possible. I was like, "Babe, go back to sleep." But as that started to intensify, everything changed from being calm to just intense. I already had a high tolerance for pain due to my PCOS, which gave me severe cramps. Nothing prepared me for the Pitocin contractions at all. My wife was trying to help because I was like, "Baby, please set up the lavender diffuser so we could just be more calming." And every time she would go to put the diffuser up, those contractions kicked in and I screamed the loudest I've ever screamed in my life. I had no control over my body. Those screams would just take over me. My mom even tried to help me hone in and focus. She was like, "Baby, hold on to these crystals, look into my eyes." And all I could say was, "Mommy, I can't." It was intense. Pitocin is not like the contractions you would normally do if you were giving birth naturally. It was an out of body feeling. It was primal screaming. I couldn't focus anymore. Before everything started, the anesthesiologist came in and he was explaining everything that would happen if I decided to do the epidural. And in my mind, I was like, "Oh, no, no, no. I decided to do a natural birth and I'm sticking to it. Nothing can change my mind." And he just looked at me. "I'm just going to read it to you just in case." I kept insisting, "I'm going to do this naturally." And it wasn't until my breaking point that I looked into my wife's eyes after hours of trying to hold on to that vision of holistic birth of I'm going to do this natural. I'm going to be in tune with my body, in tune with everything that's going on. And at that point, it was out of my control. And I looked into my wife's eyes and I said, "Baby, I can't do it anymore. Please go get the anesthesiologist." She held me and she said, "It was okay, baby. You tried." She's my Wonder Woman. She always grounds me. I'm always so thankful for my wife. It was the emotional realization that it was bigger than my plans. And when that anesthesiologist came in, of course my baby had to be sitting right here, right on my ribs, and she was moving the whole time, and I was trying to just stay still. All I could do was hold my belly and stay still and breathe. I could still feel it right now. As soon as that happened and that epidural line was in, it was immediate. My body went into relax mode. It was no longer in fight or flight. After the epidural, I can immediately feel my body relaxing, my body entering a state of bliss, relief. I was finally breathing again. My wife at one point told me when I was relaxing laying in the bed, and she was like, "You have a contraction coming," and my response was like, "Let it come, 'cause I don't feel it anymore." Looking at the screen and finally just being able to relax and not be engulfed in that pain that I felt. After I was dilated, the pushing began, and I kept just trying to feel. One thing about the epidural is because you don't feel your contraction, you really can't feel when you're pushing. So that was intense. I kept pushing and pushing. I was determined to bring my baby into this world as soon as possible. But no matter if I squatted, I tried squatting, I tried laying, I tried every which way that I could. And I was at the point where I could see my little baby's hairs, and I was like, she's coming. But no, she was stuck. 4 hours of pushing. I had oxygen when I would take breaths in between having to push. And my mom saw that I was so hot, she would bring these cold rags to put on my forehead to just calm me down and soothe me, because at that point I was so exhausted. It was an emotional, magical moment realizing that she was almost here when I could see those little hairs. All of a sudden, all I remember hearing was the baby's heart rate is dropping. My entire world was collapsing hearing those words after the journey that we went through of being in fear until I saw her on the sonogram. Now, having that fear that something was going on with her. I was rushed into the operating room for an emergency C-section. They were doing everything so quickly that they didn't even tie my arms down. And I just felt such anxiety, because that's one thing I did not want. I did not want a C-section. Because I suffer from anxiety, I thought that that would be the worst case scenario for me and my body. And for some reason, thank God, that day I was able to keep calm through it all, just focusing on my breathing, because I was on that table and my body was literally flopping like a fish because my baby was stuck. My wife said they were on there with the doctor on the table, and he was just pulling and pulling. And I'm so grateful that nothing happened to my baby, because I cannot imagine that sight that my wife saw. And once they pulled her out, my wife said that they had to do CPR. And I guess I was just so honed in on just trying to keep relaxed that I didn't realize that. And when we heard her cry, it was such a sense of relief. I was so thankful to God, the universe, everyone that was a part of bringing her into this world safely. When they brought her next to my cheek, all I could continue to say was, "Mommy loves you so much. Mommy loves you so much." I kept repeating those words. I couldn't believe that I was finally seeing her, that we were finally meeting our rainbow baby. After the loss, after the fear, after the waiting, the injections, the appointments, I remember telling my wife, "Don't you take your eyes off of her. Don't let anybody take her. You follow her wherever she goes in the hospital." Once they checked her and they brought her back, I did skin to skin, and I was trying to feed her for the first time. I was remember just kept thinking, I was like, my baby's been out of my womb for like an hour and a half. I know she's hungry. The first latch was so magical, so grounding, so calming. Just looking at her was the greatest feeling. No matter through the exhaustion, I was just happy to have our baby. The reality versus the plan, the things that didn't go as expected, the emergency C-section, the birth plan changing. I had spoken to my wife about wanting to keep my placenta, to make pills, and to plant a tree. When everything was going on in the operating room, my wife was like, "Babe, you want the placenta?" I was like, I just wanted to stitch me up. I want to get out of here. And I realized we always think about packing the bag, packing the clothes for the baby, the essentials, but I didn't really think about. I would have preferred to just wear a sports bra and be free. Sometimes giving birth teaches you surrender more than control. There was a few things I would have done differently, but I take that as a lesson. How I'll advise my daughters if they choose, they want a family, on things to make it smoother, more comfortable, more calming. I remember the first time my wife changed a diaper. It was so cute. Our baby was so little. And the nurse was like, "Come here, mama, let me show you something." And my wife had left just a little bit of doo-doo right on the thigh. She was like, "Oh, how'd that get there?" So cute. My wife was always the best supporter. Even she's pregnant and creating life within her. And she is so graceful and loving. Every time I felt guilty, she was resting. I'm like, "Baby, I gotta feed the baby. Can you get..." Because of the C-section, I couldn't move as quickly. So she would always get up, give us our baby so that I can feed her. And I enjoy just letting her sleep on me. I was like, "No, you don't gotta put it back in the crib. Just let her lay on me." Those are the most magical moments. I always call my wife my Wonder Woman. I have so much emotional gratitude for my wife. I appreciate everything that she did throughout our entire process together, because she was also pregnant going through this, and she always held me and I held her. Love carried us here. Everything we went through was so worth it for the two beautiful girls that we have. Tiny hands, head on the chest, finally becoming mothers. I'd like to share something with you. This is a photo. Every needle, every injection, every appointment, every fear, every ounce of hope carried us here to our daughters. While we were learning to become mothers to our rainbow baby, another journey was already beginning. Thank you so much for holding space, sending you so much love.